Let's talk for a moment about a technique called SWOT analysis and how it's used to assess the business environment. SWOT is an acronym for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. SWOT analysis is a very useful technique for understanding internal strengths and weaknesses, as well as external factors that identify opportunities to exploit and possible threats the organization faces. Using this method, the 4 words are placed in one of 4 quadrants, usually either on a whiteboard or on paper, and the internal and external factors that a team identifies are placed in the appropriate quadrant. The internal factors will be grouped into one of 2 categories, strengths or weaknesses. The external factors will be grouped into either opportunities or threats. SWOT analysis is simple to use and can be a great benefit to the participants in gaining insight to business strategy. The next step is to match things up. For each opportunity, we will match it with its corresponding strength and weakness, represented by the 2 arrows from the bottom left quadrant, and we match each threat with its corresponding strength and weakness, represented by the 2 arrows from the bottom right quadrant. The call to action is represented in the table on the right. For those factors that fall into the top left quadrant, exploit the opportunity using the strength. For those factors that fall into the top right quadrant, fix the weakness. For those factors that fall into the bottom left quadrant, turn the weakness into strength. And for those factors that fall into the bottom right quadrant, counter the threat using the strength. SWOT analysis is one of the tools used to identify risks and classify them into different types. SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Identifying risks within these categories gives you a broad view of the types of risks a project faces. A project's strengths and weaknesses are internal factors that may influence the project team's ability to meet its objectives. The performing organization is often able to exert some control over a project's strengths and weaknesses. Opportunities and threats tend to come from outside the performing organization. They are external factors that could help or harm a project. To perform a SWOT analysis, you brainstorm with team members or a specially assigned risk identification team. A SWOT analysis can be fairly simple or complex and detailed. Generally, it's best to keep it as simple as possible, listing only factors that may have a definite impact on the project. It's important to remember that a SWOT analysis is usually highly subjective, so although it can provide good insight about the risks a project may face, it shouldn't be the only technique you use to identify risks. The best way to set up a SWOT analysis is to create a simple grid with a square for each of the 4 factors. In the Strength section, you list the advantages or strong points that you and your organization have. Ask yourself if you and your team have any unique abilities, opportunities, or wisdom to offer to the project. In the Weaknesses section, you list the things about you, your team, and your organization that are disadvantages. These are areas that could be improved upon or that may compromise the success of a project. In the Opportunities section, you list positive external factors that could benefit the project. For example, opportunities can arise from particular external events, new technology, changes in societal attitudes, or policy changes. In the Threats section, you list external factors that may disrupt, damage, or hinder the project in any way. Say you're managing a project to create an online shopping website for a well-known department store. You and your team are ready to brainstorm all the possible risks that could affect the project, and you've drawn up a basic SWOT analysis grid. In the Strength section, you identify your organization's location as a strength. The client is situated nearby, so meetings and on-site work will be easy to arrange. The fact that your organization specializes in website design and has the required expertise is also a strength. The weaknesses you identify are that the organization currently has poor cash flow and lacks resources due to its small size. These internal factors could affect your ability to deliver quality results on time. In the Opportunities section, you note the potential for expansion in the field of website design and for attracting more customers, especially if the project is successful. However, a threat the project faces is that ideas could easily be poached by bigger companies, which would decrease your competitiveness. Once you and your team have brainstormed and filled in the sections of the SWOT analysis grid, you should refine it. To do this, you apply the USED strategy. The letters in USED stand for 4 questions. How can we use each strength? How can we stop each weakness? How can we exploit each opportunity? And how can we defend against each threat? Answering these questions will help you identify potential responses to the identified risks. So that's SWOT analysis and how you use it to identify and define project risks.